You're watching Femvids, I'm Sian Rolls, and today was the first day of the Fiji Women's Forum number 4. Today was the first day and featured a number of presentations, not to mention lengthy discussion. The events were live streamed, and if you're watching this on the 8th, there's a link below to that live stream, so you can watch it live, I guess, on the 9th and 10th, because this fourth forum runs for 3 days. The presentations themselves today circulated around a comparative analysis of the drafts of the constitutions more recently here in Fiji. There was also a presentation about what election cycles are, and basically, without going down the 8 different points, it involves what happens before, during, and after elections. There was also a breakdown of how the media reported and profiled women parliamentarian candidates at the 2 most recent elections in Fiji, which were the 2000 and 2006 elections. And to kind of close off the day, one of the presentations was from a former member of the Indonesian parliament. She shared her knowledge and experience about being a woman parliamentarian with some of the women in the room, some of whom are former politicians and parliamentarians themselves. If you don't know what the Fiji Women's Forum is, it's a consultation process that brings women from all around the country to talk about women's participation in this democratization process that's happening at the moment in Fiji. Femtalk 89 FM, if you're in Suva, is broadcasting from 10 to 3 every day of the forum. That's today, the 9th and the 10th of April. And as I mentioned earlier, the event is also being live streamed. Thanks for watching. This has been another episode of Femvids. You're watching Femvids, and today was day 2 of the Fiji Women's Forum. Now, first and foremost, what was discussed at the forum was women's approaches to politics. Now, I kind of personally don't have the idea that you have to approach things a certain way, as in with a soft touch to politics that some people assume women will bring to the field. Margaret Thatcher, who passed away, had a very firm and aggressive way of approaching things. Some of the other messages shared was that you shouldn't change while being part of politics. If you're voted in, you're a woman, you shouldn't change your approach, whether it is, the idea that you approach it in the typical women way, that is, that you approach it softly and thinking about women and children and prioritizing them as your group, but you have to respond to your constituency. What was shared was that while you're surrounded by men, you shouldn't start to think and behave like them. Don't think that you have to conform to peer pressure just because you're in politics. The idea is if you gain that position, you maintain the position that you had to get that position. You don't change how you are just because people are telling you, that's how you should act. Also, the idea of fundraising was there, a lot of different ways, because it had been shared by the women that campaigning is pretty expensive. You have to think about transport, you have to think about the cultural aspects like bringing yangona or food when you're visiting community. What you need to fundraise for was shared by women candidates. Ways of how to generate funds was shared by FWRM, as well as Emily's List from Australia. If you want to know what kind of is going to come out of this, you can watch Femvids tomorrow. I'll be looking at the outcome statement, or you could also watch the live stream tomorrow. The link is below. Thanks for watching. This has been Femvids. I'm Sian Rolls. See you soon. You're watching Femvids. I'm Sian Rolls. Today was the 3rd day of the Fiji Women's Forum. All the women in the room sat together for the past 3 days and decided on some strategic ways forward. This includes the areas of capacity building, mentoring, influencing manifestos and constitutions of political parties, fundraising, and voter and civic education. So all of that said, organizations that were represented at the forum stepped forward and pledged to act by having voter and civic education, with individuals in particular being those who would identify, for example, groups that required education, women in proposed political parties, because we have yet to have some political parties actually register as such, the women in such organizations stating that they would plan on mentoring newer women within their parties, also try and influence the approach to gender within the structure. The painstaking reality is that the women in the room were so diverse in political approach, in background, and the outcome statement itself is actually kind of a miracle that it was completed today. There were massively heated debates, clashes in ideology, and so on and so forth. But I guess it was basically a practice in democracy, because despite all that, a consensus was reached and the outcome statement is available online. It all came together, and the reason it came together was because every single woman in the room had one aim: getting more women into Parliament. Because women have not been in Parliament, despite the fact that they're half the population. There's been a dismal amount of women in Parliament. To me, what might have actually been the funniest thing about these past 3 days were the male technicians in the room, the guys that were in charge of the live streaming. They were listening, and it kind of just shows that when women get together and women talk, if you have men present for once, the men will listen. I myself was standing on the sidelines, filming every now and again. The guys would come around and say, that woman is saying something very interesting. I agree with it. And that's great. So thanks for watching. This has been another Femvid. I'm Sian Rolls. See you next time.